This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we are working on a Miele washing machine that won't drain or has trouble draining. So I'm going to be removing the dryer first. I'm going to take out these two screws, pop up on these two little metal plates, and then I can get the machine to come out toward me to remove the where the feet are connected. So I have to move it toward me by a few inches. I get a friend to help me. We'll lift it off, get that out of the way, and that's going to give me good access to the washing machine. So we got the dryer off. I'm going to use a small standard head screwdriver to pry off this little plastic plate on either side, and then I'm going to use my Torx 15 driver to spin out the screw on both sides by about maybe 4 or 5 revolutions. I don't want to take it all the way out, because what happens is the screw comes out a little bit and then you can push in on the screws, and they push in on a little plastic plate that lets the top panel come out. They're kind of being held in by these plastic plates. So when you loosen up the screw gets longer, and you can push in on the screw on both sides, and that releases the front of the top panel. There's also 2 standard head screws on the back. I'm sorry, not standard head, Phillips head screws on the back that we have to remove. So we remove these 2, and then we can get the top panel off. And the typical reason these Miele washing machines have draining problems most often will be a problem with what they call the air gap. Could be also there's something caught in the coin trap. That might be the first thing to check. But if it's kind of an intermittent problem and it just doesn't drain very well, most likely you just have a dirty air gap and it's having trouble. So I just lifted the top off, and here in the back left-hand corner there's this little round thing located near the orange inlet valve. And this round thing is the air gap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push with my thumb on a tab, pushing away from me as I turn this upper piece to the right. And now I'm able to pull it off. There's a little rubber gasket and also a small plastic ball. And I want to be careful those don't fall into the machine. So just take your time here. But we want to get that ball out of there, and we want to then separate this upper plastic round piece from its rubber hose. So we're going to grab it and kind of wiggle and pull it out. And we're going to be working on cleaning out all the gunk that builds up inside. It's kind of like arteriosclerosis in our arteries. The junk builds up to a point where finally the air can't move through, and because the air can't move through, the machine has trouble getting rid of the water. Water, it's just a physics principle. When water moves, it needs to have air present with it. If it doesn't, it creates kind of like a suction and it gets stuck. And that's why these machines sometimes don't drain well, or they actually stop draining, just because this thing gets so mucked up. So I'm using a couple of pointy tools to reach in and clean out as much of the stuff I can from this part that the little ball was in, and also the top piece. I want to clean that out, and the rubber gasket, and even the ball itself. I want to get it all as clean as possible. So I ended up taking some wire and pushing it down into the rubber tube to try to get more of that junk out. Eventually I blew down into the rubber tube, and I could hear water gurgling down in the sump assembly, so I knew that I was able to get airflow, which is great. If you blow down into that tube and it feels like it's obstructed and you don't hear any gurgling, it could mean that you have to do some more cleaning of that tube down near the pump. In this case, though, all the cleaning could be done up here at the top, which is great because it involved very little disassembly. So I'm finding this stuff, I don't even know what it is. It's kind of like, boy, I don't know, calcified dirt that's just mucked up this mechanism. So now I have a extended clothes hanger, and I'm pushing that down in the tube and also down in this little basin, this round basin, getting out as much as I can. From this round basin, if I go away from me toward the back of the washing machine, it then connects to the drain tube that's leaving the washing machine. So you got to make sure that's all clear. I'm using a little wire, push down into the black tube. There's probably many different ways that this can all be cleaned out. And just do your best to get as much as you can see. The part that really seemed to be the most dirty was the top piece, the round top piece. And I took that to the sink, and I was able to get out some really big chunks. I think that's the one that was really occluded and was not letting the air flow. So even in your bathroom or your kitchen, the plumbing that you have, the draining system, is connected to an air vent that goes up to through your ceiling up through your roof and mixes air with the water leaving your house. And this is essentially the same thing. So if you were to have a bird make a nest on that vent tube above your house, then all of a sudden your sink wouldn't drain. And in this case, this vent was just so plugged up. That's the reason that the pump was spinning, but it was not able to get rid of the water. So most of the Miele washing machines have this common part here in the back. It's usually the back left-hand corner. And again, pretty easy to get to it. Just be careful when you're removing the top that the black gasket doesn't fall down inside of the washing machine, or that ball would fall down in, because it's going to be really hard to get that out. If you had a can of compressed air, that might be good also for cleaning out this stuff. I'm just using mechanical action. I would guess that this stuff had accumulated over about an 8 to 10 year period. So you don't have to do this that often. But if your symptom is that your washing machine doesn't drain well, maybe doesn't reach the spin cycle because the machine can't get rid of all the water, or has an intermittent problem, I would do this procedure. Here's the top piece. So I'm going to remove the little rubber gasket. And wow, this part's really plugged up. This tube part behind it. The gasket out. I want to get it all really clean. So I'm going to take this to the sink and get it a little cleaner than I can with just mechanical action. Just running water down through there. This is when I notice I get the most stuff out of the biggest chunk. It's a lot of crud. There we go. So we're going to put it all back together. Get that rubber tube back on there. Just show you the procedure again. And before you put it all back together, I would test it again. I would fill it and let it drain, and you may get some more junk pushed up into the same air gap, and you might want to clean it one more time before you do the final assembly. I found that was true when I tested it. It drained good, but it actually pushed some more junk into this little bowl. So I cleaned it one more time. Just going to get the top secured back on there. I'll put in that drawer piece again into the rails. Got the dryer back on there. I'm going to put the little metal plate back in to hold in the front feet. I push it down with my standard head screwdriver, and then I'll put the screw back in to hold it. You can also wield your dryer onto a recycling bin if you don't have someone to help you. Just kind of grab it, put the recycling bin in front of the washing machine and grab the dryer and pull it towards you, and then you can wheel it away because the recycling bin has wheels. And then when you want to put it back, you just put the recycling bin in front of the washing machine and then push the machine back onto the washer. Got a little metal plate in that holds the feet, and then I put the screw back in. There we go. Plug in the dryer, 220 outlet. Now push the washer and dryer back and kind of wiggle them back and forth. You can spray Windex underneath their feet too, it makes it easier. Put the dryer vent back on. I'll push it back a little bit further, and that's pretty much it. We're done. So it's filling with water. Press cancel button, and that's going to make it drain. Now we can see the water leaving the machine pretty quickly. You can hear it leaving fast. And that's normal drain function, so it's back to doing a good job again. So I hope this has been helpful to you and have your machine back running strong again. Please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance, and please like the video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.